Hello, welcome to the podcast of Startup Recruitment Failures. I'm Indra, founder and CEO of JobRely. We're building outbound recruitment SaaS. And today my guest is Liudas Kanapienis, co-founder and CEO at Onboarding. Liudas, could you please introduce yourself and your startup?
Hi, Indra. Sure, would love to. So, my name is Liudas. I'm the CEO and the co-founder at Onboarding. And at Onboarding, actually, we are building Know Your Customer products, basically focused on Know Your Customer automation and mostly working with the financial sector, with the obliged entities.
Okay, nice. Very, very interesting and very needed nowadays. So when talking about the recruitment failures, I know that Ondata team is quite a big one. Maybe you could share with us with your experience.
So we started actually like just us co-founders, four of us. Quite quickly, we added some first teammates that we had at that time, and basically for quite a time, I would say we were about 12 people company. Yeah? But of course later, before starting the COVID, we were 30 people company.
Mhm.
And today we are 196.
Wow,
So
that's a lot.
that's quite a time. On the other hand, of course, with all those hires and everything, we have successful hires. I have now almost 200 colleagues with me, but also, of course, with that, we had some failures as well, for sure.
Could you share the experience you had?
Since the podcast is about the failures, isn't it? So, so the biggest issue by everywhere, honestly, like even not talking about like my startup, it's also like what I've seen when working to other companies, launching the other startups. It's actually everywhere the same. Yeah. So like the first of all, setting up the expectations right. In the meaning that the relationship in between the employee and the employer, or the manager and the employee, whatever, it's still the kind of first of all the relationship of people. So it doesn't matter what kind of outcome it has, like that somebody is being paid for it and whatever. But in the other hand, it's still like the very common relationship as such. Yeah. So and the relationship has to be built, and that's what I see, that people usually don't have the intention to actually build the relationship, but rather looking to cover one or other type of field. And then when like hiring someone, they're just setting up the expectation that, again, to give the example, the same like account management. Yeah. So a very good example by all of the means, because when the startup is small, usually the closer or the founding team actually takes care about the customers. Yeah. So, and then when hiring the account manager, basically they're looking to do that like in the same way as they do. Yeah. So, but on the other hand, it's just impossible, because like what we have to realize that anyway, all the people, they have their different view, attitude, and literally they're just different, and it's just impossible that it will be done in the same way as the founders or whatever would do that. And then when you realize that you don't have enough time and basically enough attention to manage those accounts, then they're hiring the account manager as such. Yeah? So the business is successful, all the stuff, and basically growing, more clients and more things to manage. And then putting the expectations that it will be covered by the same way. Yeah, so and that's like really high expectations. But then so they have those like conversations, first one, second one. They discuss internally that, wow, yeah, this person is really great. Everything is there. So the cultural aspects, everything, or like really fits our environment, everything. Let's go for it. And then they face the reality. The person doesn't know lots of the processes, doesn't know lots of the historical things, and like daily work. And then basically the view actually changes, and that's where kind of the biggest then failures actually comes. So because either you kind of understand that, and then you actually help to to develop the person, to build up the processes behind, to understand why that kind of happened and all that, basically to help upfront basically for the next hires within the same sector or the same department, to others actually to like jump into it and to solve that, or you're just then basically being disappointed and that's it, so
But when you say expectations management, so I believe that everyone expects that, if you're onboarding a new person on your team, you have to show attention, you have to introduce all the procedures and all the policies which are at this company existing. But when we're talking about the expectations management, what do you mean by that? Should other hiring managers expect to be more involved and to spend more time than usual? And what does it mean? Like how much? When is it enough?
So, like, honestly, I always try to give those advices
Mhm.
that the expectations should be like twice as bad as the worst scenario.
Mhm.
Yeah, so like, so then it's always just the improvement actually that can be happening. Yeah, what does it mean in like daily jobs? So then, yes, like to actually be ready to spend literally like just to shadow all the time,
Mhm.
to give as much as you're spending during the day basically, and to fully involve within all the processes and everything, especially within the startup where those like processes and procedures actually does not exist, so
Yeah.
because what we also have to understand, so then in the later stage, like today, let's say within my company, so of course we have now lots of descriptions, procedures, processes,
Mhm.
lots of the responsibilities descriptions and that kind of stuff. It's honestly now, of course, it's easier basically to set the person's responsibility area and to give the some kind of understanding even without the actual like talk, just during the day, and to do that. But in the small startup or the smaller group, lots of those things actually do not even exist.
Yeah, they're
So
not written down.
yeah, and then so how for the person then to actually realize,
Yeah.
what is within the kitchen, so what is then actually like within the processes, within the procedures, relationship with the clients and everything. It's just there's no other way, so and even in terms of the like cultural, let's say, aspect, so how do we talk with them, how do we approach them, what kind of communication do we have, and even some basic things, the channels, possibilities, flexibility, whatever type of things,
Mm.
is not so easy then to actually like understand. But we as founders, we expect that to happen just like somehow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally agree with you. On the other hand, such a difficult task, right? Because you're hiring because you're not capable of
Yeah,
dealing with all the tasks which are on your plate. And when you hire, you expect that that new person will help you,
of
but
course.
it doesn't seem like, right? Because you have to do your work and you have to take care of the other person. So how to balance this?
But that's the whole point, and that's where the biggest actually difficulties are coming from,
Mm.
and because you see, that's what I mean about when talking about the expectation management, so because what I'm saying that, and what I see a lot, and I've seen that as well within my company, so that literally everyone is like busy, busy as
Mm.
hell, and working, 8 hours. I don't know if we ever seen that within the company, like honestly. So when you're so busy, so of course the expectation usually is that, so then okay, let's cover this part, and like I will have more time, to do my stuff.
Mm.
And the actual thing is that it's not. It just we have to face the reality, So if you hire someone and you are busy like, I don't know, 10 hours a day, so you will be literally busy 12, 14 or 16.
Okay.
And that's what we have to set up as the expectation from our side,
Mm.
so that the amount of work and of time spent will actually increase but not decrease on the same things, because you will literally have to replicate those things to explain that to other person. But it is an investment into the future.
Mm.
And that's what we have then to understand. So basically, to admit that, to accept that, and to invest that time, because those harsh 2 3 weeks of time through the onboarding process, if it's actually done and the time is invested, so then of course it will repay back within the really huge amount of release in the daily job.
Mhm.
The only problem is that if it's an actual growing startup, with the good product and basically the active market, which requires the products and basically then team expanding, so that literally, as the founders, they have to be ready to do that all the time, because you've just onboarded one person, spent like 2 3 weeks of time with a fully, spending with them. Of course, they will require some time later on as well. And then you're hiring another one, then another one, and another one, and that's what we have to be ready to do, So even today, within the 200 people, I still, of course, I'm not spending the time with them, like those 2 weeks and all the stuff, because there's no other people doing that. But I still spend some time with them, So I do have those meetings with them, like common meetings, explaining, the history, telling about the story of Ondato, how we came into this sector, what we are aiming to achieve, what are our goals, what are, the culture we have, and all the stuff, and that.
Giving all the background.
Yeah, of course, because people within the company have to understand not only what they're doing, but also why they're doing this,
Yeah.
and what is the background, of the company itself, why it is solving one or other type of challenges within the market, and how does it serve its customers. And it's not only like the words that or some kind of written words within the statements of mission and vision, but they have to actually understand this.
Mhm.
And it's our job to do that, because nobody else will do that right.
Of course. So, did you have this experience of mismanaging your expectations yourself?
Oh yeah, of course.
Maybe you could share any particular situation when this happened and what was the outcome? How did you deal with that?
So maybe I will start with the end. So of course the outcome was that we just had to say goodbye to each other,
Mhm.
and that was honestly quite a few times, and it's nothing like, I don't expect me to like make only the good hires or something. And so for us, it's always about finding, let's say, the actual fit.
Mhm.
Just maybe what I've learned from those mistakes that I've made. Of course, I will share that. But what I've learned from it is that when you kind of come with a bit of neutral expectations as such, yeah, so then it's of course easier to manage that, and basically then easier to make any kind of decisions, yeah, because for any manager, if you have those big expectations, really big hype, so that, oh yes, that is the person, and all the stuff, and then you have some kind of disappointment, it's quite difficult actually to make the decision that maybe it's time to say goodbye to each other. Yeah,
Mhm.
so it's more difficult anyway. And if sharing the example, so of course, yeah, I had really quite a few of those, and let's say not so recent ones, but when I hired, in example, the head of one department,
Mhm.
I really like had some my upfront opinion on the person, let's say, and after discussions, everything, I was like a bit of too hyped, let's say, yeah, so that now the problems and issues of that department will be just solved,
Yeah.
and what then I did wrong, basically, so that I also did not invest enough time into development of that person, so into kind of managing those expectations, what I had, sharing that with the person, basically, and to lead through the process, and especially with the onboarding. And then, of course, it ended up that there's no the result that I was expecting. So it's
Mhm.
it's anyway like my mistake in that, because I didn't manage that right. Of course, I have so many excuses around that, because I was so busy. I think we were fundraising at that time, or something like that, So there was so much of the things that I was doing, and of course, like I have the like explanation that I literally couldn't. But in that case, maybe I just actually had to postpone this hire, so or to manage that somehow differently, then, because every one of us is busy with something all the time, and the question is then on the priorities, so if I expected actually that like department to actually be like solved and covered, so I had to invest those like at least like 1-2 weeks or something like that. So that's so that's kind of the example, because then and fast forward, it cost me like from that like that example, so it cost me like about half a year actually on then
Mhm.
like restructuring, rehires, again, like onboarding, all that kind of stuff, and then basically to then sort out of the mess. Yeah, so because that where I just then had to spend and way more time than I would be spending on the actual real good onboarding.
What
So
mess are you talking about? Like, what happened that you had to solve so many problems after you?
yeah, so you see, so when you hire a like a head of the department, yeah,
Mhm.
so it means that you're bringing anyway some kind of view, culture, attitude, and that kind of stuff into the department as such,
Yeah.
so then, of course, there was some kind of system created within the department, some kind of procedures, processes, some people hired within there, and all the stuff. And then it like all of that part has a bit of the different view than the actual like companies and the co-founders view on it.
So they didn't align the department with the co.
Yeah, and like I'm not talking about the mess as mess, so but it just is not aligned within the like the company's
Mhm.
stuff, and within the other departments, and then it creates this kind of mess that just needs to be sorted out. So it means that then it involves like not one single person, but like even more people that then needs to be either changed, either moved within the positions, all the stuff. Of course, then lots of the cultural things sorted out, and like that kind of mess I'm talking about.
After how long did you start noticing that something is not going according to your plan you had when hiring?
That's a good question. If I remember good, that was something like 2-3 months or something like that.
Okay, so not too much of the time, but still.
Well, yeah, but it's kind of you notice first, then you kind of try to solve something, then you see if you can solve. So it still takes time, So and
Mhm.
then in the common, let's say, length on from the like very beginning to the kind of then solving that as the whole. Of course, it takes time, and then it takes way longer, because there are you know better than me, that there are quite a few aspects of it, so first of all is that if something is going wrong from the like very beginning, and of course if it's always the best to notice that sooner than later, but the reality is the reality,
Yeah,
and still it takes some
it's
time.
always later.
Yeah, but all that time that you spend, doesn't matter what kind of time, like 2-3 months to half a year, whatever year, it still is against you, because all of that time you actually didn't go to the same direction that you actually wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and that's already an issue, yeah, because you're kind of going to a bit of other direction that you're supposed to go. And then it actually has its own results, especially when you're in the startup environment, in this so quick and fast changing environment. So that's I believe that's anyway always an issue, even doesn't matter what period of time you spent on it.
But wasn't it possible to fix this after you started noticing that something is going not according to your plan? Didn't you have a conversation with the head of?
Of course, yeah. Well, of course, you always try to fix it first, to have those conversations, all the stuff. But that's why to fix something, it takes more time anyway than just to do it right from the very beginning. Yeah. And that's kind of crucial and the main rule, I guess, like everywhere. It's not even with the hiring people or something, but it's just life. And of course, I've tried to fix it, and we tried to do that like together, all the stuff. But that's where then the energy is. You have a big energy waste on it anyway, because fixing something, it's more difficult than doing than tried, and that's just a loss for everyone. Yeah, so it didn't work out in my case, in that particular case. Of course, I've seen examples where it actually works, and fixing is possible, but in that case it didn't work.
I see. So your advice would be to manage your expectations when hiring, but how does this practically look like? So you found a person you're very hyped about, right? And what are the steps you should take?
And basically, so if you know that it's like whatever, you're hiring the person from the Monday of next week. So basically, you're then dedicating your time. If you're like direct manager or whatever, or like CEO founder, and then hiring the head of department or whatever. So then you are dedicating your next 2 weeks of time basically to work with that person on like very close. Yeah. So it means that explaining everything, shadowing you, and all that kind of stuff. So so the first expectation to manage is that now because you're solved that type of issue that you had, and that's why you're hiring that person. So that it's not now solved, but it's actually even more complicated. Yeah, so that's the number one expectation that needs to be managed. Yeah, so then when it's done and you have dedicated your like next 2 weeks of time fully committed to the person and to the onboarding process, then it will be solved. So, and basically, of course, like all those small tips, like then prepare the plan itself for the onboarding, what you will go through, what you will discuss, what kind of processes, procedures you will have. Maybe you will create some together, especially the smaller group. No kind of procedures process involved, so maybe it's a good time to do that because you're kind of still spending the time. So to do that, but to expect that there's really good people out there, and for sure that lots of good people that you will hire, and they will bring a huge impact of everything. But you still have to then review all this and everything, because they will bring, if it's a like senior person, so of course they have lots of competence, knowledge, and everything, and that they will bring in, and that will save lots of the time. But still, it has to be reviewed, at the very, very beginning. So to align, how does it fit, the existing structure, culture, and everything, and then the that person can go on its own, and basically to perform on its own.
Great. Thank you so much, Lodas, for sharing your story and for such a great advice. I think we all have to remember that people don't onboard themselves. We have to do that. And thank you, all the listeners. For more podcasts, please visit jobrely.com.